The favorite at 2 to 1.
Terrible bet on paper. I love the odds of it.
So who are we all picking?
This field that is not a good bet.
They're off.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Welcome to Breeders' Cup Focus. In this edition, we're going to take a look at the major contenders for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, ranked in very preliminary morning line order. Our morning line is made by Daily Racing Forms Brad Free. Before we take a look at the top 10 contenders, I just have to remind everyone that the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge will be held this year at the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, November 1st and 2nd, and take a look at that cash prize pool. $1.25 million. Register today for the BCBC, breederscup.com/BCBC. The Classic, right in the middle of the card this year on Saturday. It's the anchor leg of a pick 5. It also is the first leg of a pick 5. Lots of ways to make money with the Classic. And as we take a look at our top 5 contenders for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, you'll notice that the top 2, Emily Upjob and Content, they're from Europe. And this year's Breeders' Cup attracted 80 international pre-entries. That's a record for the Breeders' Cup. And Emily Upjob, Mike, she hasn't won in a while, but she's very consistent, and she's got the great John Gosden in her corner.
Yeah, she's got just some tremendous back races, Dan. Was a really good 3-year-old. Didn't get much of a campaign in last year, but in 2 of her 3 starts, she was really good again. Be interested to, so far it's 0 for 6 this year. I'll be interested to really dig into some of the races she's run this year, though, Dan, and see if there are excuses or if she's run poorly, because her form's not terrible. She just hasn't found the winner's circle.
Seems like she likes firm ground, and last time out, she was in against a very good mare from overseas. That's Blue Stocking in the Prix Vermeil, and of course, Blue Stocking came back and beat the boys in the Arc de Triomphe. She certainly classes up. Content, the number 2, is sort of an interesting case, Mike. She won the Group 1 Yorkshire Oaks 3 starts back, and her last 2 races have been really disappointing on the looks of it. But it was a boggy turf course in the Prix de l'Opera at Longchamp, and it might have been even worse 2 weeks ago in the British Champions Filly and Mare Turf. The fact that Aidan O'Brien's moving on with her to the Breeders' Cup, I think, is a very good sign.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the fact that, the big win 3 starts back was on, firmer turf course, a firmer turf course suggests that she just probably really likes that going. I'm sure that has something to do with wanting to ship her over. She's a 3-year-old, Dan, but it's not like O'Brien's taking it easy on her. He's run her a lot, and her form feels like it stacks up pretty well. It's also worth noting that they shipped her over for the Breeders' Cup last year, and she ran really well in the Juvenile Fillies Turf.
The last time Warlike Goddess ran at Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup, it was the Filly and Mare Turf in 2021. She had a chance to run against fillies and mares because of the distance, and she ran an excellent 3rd behind a classy Japanese winner. She's gone on and continued to have a stellar campaign. Let's watch her most recent race, the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. She's looking for a 3-peat in this race against males, and right here, Mike, it's looking pretty good. She's setting sail for favored Silver Knot. She's going to go by Silver Knot. She's just not good enough against Farbridge, who's in raging form and a prime contender for the turf.
Yeah, she runs fine in here. She didn't have any real excuse there. She's just second best to a horse who's in really good form right now. She's come back pretty good as a 7-year-old. I'm sure that, Mott was probably working backwards from the Breeders' Cup, and so he's gotten her here. The distance is a little short for her, and trips are very important to her, so we'll see if she can get one.
The last 2 years, of course, she was forced to run in the turf against boys because the Filly and Mare Turf was contested at 1.25 miles at Keeneland, 1 mile and 3/16 at Santa Anita. That's simply too short for a horse like Warlike Goddess, who will get the distance she craves at Del Mar. From Canada comes Moira and Full Count Felicia, and they're both trained by Kevin Attard, and they're both coming into this race in good form. Let's start with Full Count Felicia, who has just changed her running style, and it has changed her fortune. Let's watch Full Count Felicia win last time out in the E.P. Taylor, and this is how she does it now. She goes to the front, she opens up, and she keeps on going. She has a very nice turn of foot on the turn. You notice she went 23 and change in the 3rd quarter, and that put the rest to bed.
Yeah, this is just a commanding performance here in a Grade 1 race. Dan just went right to the top here, took no prisoners up there, opened up a big lead, and just never gave this field a chance. This is a serious performance. The win 2 starts back, I wasn't blown away by that one where they just sort of let her get loose on a rated pace. But boy, that was a strong performance last time. Dangerous speed in here.
Moira was belatedly up for second in the EP Taylor. She was a good third in last year's Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf at Santa Anita, and she's just such a consistent horse. She's hit the board in her last 9 races, and it just seems like this year's Filly and Mare Turf, from a class standpoint, she really fits.
I think that's probably true. I mean, I'll be interested to dig into these Europeans a little more closely and see what they got, because last year when Moira was third in the race, the 1-2 finishers were top class horses. She ran really well that day.
Let's take a look at 6 through 10 on our list for the Filly and Mare Turf. Remember to go to drf.com/Breeders' Cup for the latest news and notes on this race, as well as the entire list of pre-entries. Didia and Anisette, 6 and 10. They disappointed a little bit last time out in the John C. Maybe, Mike. For Didia, it was kind of a curious performance because she had always been so consistent leading up to that race.
Yeah, I know. I think I might say the same thing about each of her last 2 starts today. I mean, her overall form is really strong. I thought she was a little disappointing in the Diana 2 back at Saratoga. She ran even worse last time out in Southern California, so I think you got to be a little bit concerned about her current form, but you know that her good race gives her some kind of a chance in here, Dennis. She's a very tactical horse. She could get a good trip.
And as for Anisette, she's been on the board in 11 of 12. She is a multiple graded stakes winner, and she made it close in the Maybe last time out. Just from a distance and class standpoint, there are still a lot of questions.
Yeah, she's also a little bit slow. I mean, you don't want to sort of marry yourself to speed figures in a race like this, but she's a little bit slow on the way in.
Godolphin and Charlie Appleby have the 7th ranked horse, Cinderella's Dream, and the 9th, Beautiful Love. Cinderella's Dream has done absolutely nothing wrong since coming to North America. 2 graded stakes victories, including this race at Saratoga, the Saratoga Oaks, where she just runs them over at odds on. Another very visually impressive performance for a lightly raced 3-year-old. I think they wanted to run her in the Taylor, and she had a little bit of an issue, so she's going to have to come into this race off a layoff.
Yeah, she missed a little bit of time. We'll see if it affects her. Her talent should be unquestioned. She's a really, really good racehorse. She has a strong kick to her, Dan. The 3-year-old turf fillies in North America, especially the ones that we saw in New York throughout the summer, a lot of them aren't great, but there are some good ones. I don't think Cinderella's Dream necessarily met the really, really good ones. Although her Belmont Oaks, that was a strong performance into a very fast pace, and she finished hard.
She does seem superior right now to Beautiful Love, however, who did win the Jockey Club Oaks going 1 mile 3/8, but was only 3rd in the Weah last time out. First start older horses here in North America. She wants distance, but she really has to step forward.
Yeah, between the 2 Godolphin and Appleby horses, to me, Cinderella's Dream is clearly superior.
And while Soprano was 2nd in the Queen Elizabeth II Cup at Keeneland earlier in the month, she was no match for She Feels Pretty that day, and the distance is a big question mark for her.
It's a huge question. She didn't run, poorly at Keeneland last time, but a effort like that's not going to get it done against this field.
Warlike Goddess might have her swan song in this year's Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. She's going to be facing some tough competition from overseas. Emily Upjohn might be the horse to beat for John Gosden, who won this race last year with Inspiral.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.